Reaktion auf Joey Carbstrong Interview mit Gary Yourofsky. Ich hoffe, der sagt was zu Politik. Der wurde ja auch schon gecancelt von den üblichen Verdächtigen. Ich hoffe, dazu wird er was sagen. Und da bin ich sehr gespannt. Hallo Wispe. Und sehr langes Video. Wir gucken mal, wie weit wir kommen. Wenn super interessant ist, gucken wir auch den Rest. Aber erstmal gucken wir mal, wie es heute läuft. Let's go.
Yourofsky is a vegan animal liberation activist and educator. He's been banned from... So Gary Yourofsky is a vegan animal liberation activist and educator. He's been banned from entering 5 countries. He's been arrested 13 times in a clear and unapologetic display of defiance of the unjust laws that oppress animals.
Den Joey Carbstrong mag ich nicht, aber den Gary mag ich.
As of January 2015, Gary Yourofsky has given 2,660 lectures to more than 60,000 people at 186 schools. His speeches have garnered tens of millions of views online. His social media has skyrocketed to hundreds of thousands of followers in less than 2 years, making Gary Yourofsky undeniably one of the most, if not the most, prolific and famous classroom lecturers and educators in the history of the vegan animal rights movement.
Ja, ich weiß nicht genau, würde ich sagen, dass der größte vegane Influencer ist, der die meisten Menschen erreicht hat. Ich glaube schon. Ich glaube, der ist weltweit tatsächlich die Nummer 1.
His influence on the contemporary animal rights movement cannot be overstated. He has influenced in one way or another an entire generation of activists in his wake who have gone on to make a huge impact, including myself. Now, Gary is back after 8 years of retirement.
Joey Carbstrong ist fett geworden, der Gary nicht.
So Gary, thank you for sitting here with me today, but most of all, thank you for everything you have done and sacrificed for the animals. If the animals were here, if they knew what you had put yourself through for them, they would thank you dearly.
You'll make me cry, man.
Ja, wenn man für jemanden eine Statue bauen sollte, dann für den, ja.
Listen, the universe called me on this mission. I listened. I did what I had to do. I made promises to a bunch of animals back in the 90s that I would tell everybody about their plight, their situation. I told them I would give my life for them. And even though I'm sitting here with you right now, I died inside a long time ago. I'm still going on for them. And that's why I'm back in action right now. I did have to take a break. The stress, the PTSD, I was in the trenches way too long. I don't regret it. I don't take it back again. I made that promise and I'm a man that keeps my promises. It was just a lot to deal with. Insomnia too. For 25 years, I've probably slept 2 hours a night. If I get to 4 hours a night, it's a fucking miracle. And I'm thrilled, which I got last night. I'm really excited. But, you know, lack of sleep and stress is a lot for a body to handle. And I just needed to back off and find some peace of mind. A lot of people falsely claim that I'm arrogant. And it's weird to me because I was always the last person I ever thought about when I did my activism. In fact, when I did the mink liberation in 1997, the first time I thought about myself was when they closed the cell door. And I'm sitting in this bed in this 6 by 12 foot cell going, wow, what the fuck have I done? Where am I at? Holy shit.
Ja, setzt sich für die Tiere ein und landest im Gefängnis.
That was the first time during that whole mink liberation saga that I thought about myself. But I remember telling the judge, and by the way, the best speech I ever gave in my life is a speech that only a couple dozen people...
I want to get to that, brother. You are going to the places in this interview that you were there.
Okay.
This is great because you just honestly have, these are the things I exactly want to ask you.
Okay.
I would just like to go back to the beginning before you do, because that is, like, I know hearing what I just read to you probably like brought up a lot of things. Sure. Like I know that's a pretty heavy like paragraph what I've read, and like I tried to really, that small paragraph doesn't really do your life's work any justice, because like these are just words that was the experiences you went through. Like 20 years is a long time, and you've still been doing things in the background. That's a long, because it's not necessarily the length of time, because you could do 50 years easy. You did 20 years hard as you could. That's a difference, and that's what I like to get across to people. This is really putting yourself out there, a lot of pressure on your shoulders, a lot of criticism from everywhere, even your own movement, and that's going to take a toll on anyone.
Ja, jeder kann sich entscheiden, ob der 20 Jahre Hardcore-Aktivismus macht oder 50 Jahre Soft. Kann jeder machen, wie er will. Es gibt keine Obligation, Aktivismus zu machen.
Like, yeah, and I take that word activist sacred. It's active. So the reason why I said I've been retired for the last 8 to 10, maybe 11 years is, to me, I wasn't active, even though I was helping butterflies and I was helping some skunks and I was helping Sasha Farm Animal Sanctuary. In my mind, that wasn't the activism that I was used to on the street corner, in the classroom, and in the jailhouse. Yeah. So that's why I took that moniker out of my title for the last, 10 years or so.
I would like to take it back to the start of your journey and give people like a bit of an idea who you are and your journey, and then I would like to focus on why you were back. So a lot of people don't know where you were born, like what it was like growing up and where you went to school and things like that. So if you could like talk about your early years growing up.
I was just a normal kid growing up, wanted to be a hockey goalie at first. I played
Hallo Zuckerinsel.
hockey till I was 13. Then I wanted to be a rock star, played guitar for 18 years. I remember when I was 13, I had made a deal with my mom that if she lent me $2,000 for a Jackson guitar that I wanted so badly, I would work as a busboy at a restaurant that whole summer and pay her back, and I did. So I really wanted to go that route. And as you probably know, I also wanted to be a rapper. I actually did a demo in 1992, a 3-song demo. You can find a couple of those songs online right now, Declaration of Misrepresentation. You maintain the rights of a minority, but when the government's ruled by the majority. It was an anti-racist rap, by the way, so that's where I started with that as well, with my activism, with my concern for others.
You're an activist, you're rebellious, you don't listen to rules if you find them like unjust, but was there any part of that character in you in school?
I have a lifelong authority complex. I did not like principals. I did not like the teachers who wanted to tell me what to do. So this kind of goes hand in hand with my activism, how I fought with the cops and I fought with the judges and the whole legal system. So yeah, I always had that issue with society's rules. I never liked the way things were set up. And the more I thought about it over the years, the more I realized what everybody is doing is usually wrong, especially when it comes to social justice. I've never heard about a situation where the majority of people have been on the right side of a social justice issue, always been a small group of people trying to explain to the larger group, hey, wait, what are you doing to these beings? What are you doing over here? In fact, I believe...
Was macht ihr da mit den Sklaven?
The principal at Berkeley High School, Miss Jackson, she was the vice principal. My mom's number was on speed dial. I was in the office nearly every single day getting in trouble. I remember a couple of teachers too, you know how they would say if you were talking in class, you want to come up here and teach the class? And I would say, yeah, actually I do. Miss Jansen, my English teacher, used to do that. And she was so upset because I went up and I would actually teach the class as well as she would, and she'd be in the back. Only Yourofsky could actually pull this off. And then, so yeah, Berkeley High School is where I went to high school. I went to Wayne State University only for a semester because they required math. And I hate math, I hate numbers, I'm a wordsmith. And I ended up
Ich mag Mathe, ich war auch immer gut in Mathe.
Transferring to Oakland.
Right, but no, there's a story there, though, isn't there? Like, you didn't go to any maths classes, and didn't you challenge the principal not to graduate?
True. That's an interesting story. So at Berkeley High, you were able to sign up for your own classes. They told you what you were supposed to take eventually, and you had to do all this. So I never signed up for any math classes in the 4 years. And then they brought me into the office a couple weeks before graduation, 1988. And they said, Miss Jackson said, Gary, you didn't sign up for any math classes for the last 4 years. I said, yeah, but look at all the extra English classes that I took. well, you need math classes. I said, well, I'm not taking them, but if you want to keep me here for another year, be my guest. And she looks at me like, I do not want this guy in my office every day. And she signs the paper. I swear, she's like, get the hell out of here. Get out of here now. I'm like, thanks.
There you go.
Now, as much as a troublemaker as I was, you still didn't hate me. You still liked me. You still thought I was goofy and cute. I mean, as I sit here now and you hear about Gary's a terrorist or Gary's this, are you really scared of me? I mean, do I really frighten anybody? So I'm just
Gary's a terrorist.
opinionated. I'm dogmatic. I have a position. I don't want to bend. So yeah, I got through Berkeley High without doing any math. So then I transferred from Wayne State because of the math stuff. So I transferred to Oakland University, also in Michigan, where they let me take computer instead of math, computer classes. That was a problem too. It took me 7.5 years to graduate. I quit 3 times. I didn't like the rules. Especially, see, I found out about animal rights in the mid-90s while I was in college. So, of course, I'm majoring in journalism. All of my articles that I'm writing about are about animals. So now the professors start complaining, some of them. They tell Jane Briggs Bunting, who was the dean of journalism, what's going on, and she brings me to her office and says, you're banned about writing about animal rights. I said, are you out of your fucking mind? No, I'm not. That's what I'm writing about. She goes, no, you're biased. You're a biased reporter. I said, you're a biased reporter. Because when the circus comes to town, I write about how cruel it is for the animals, and you write about how fun it is. You're just as biased as I am. I'll take the bias, moniker as long as you accept it too. You're living in fantasy land. We all have our biases. So she fought with me on this. In fact, we didn't agree to anything that day in the office. Went back, wrote about animal rights. She would actually come to my classes and say, did Gary write a story about animal rights? And she'd take the paper and put an F on it. And I said, hey, we can battle all day long. You're not gonna beat me. It is a losing battle. Finally, she ended up giving up and said, okay, let him write whatever he wants to write. So, but I didn't like school, and I didn't understand why you needed this piece of paper to prove yourself in our society. But I was told get your degree, you'll go further. I don't believe my journalism degree helped me in any way, even though I write articles. I couldn't tell you the parts of speech, of words. I look at it. This is how my crazy brain works. I just see something, how it should be written. But I really can't tell you the parts of speeches and what should go where, what predicate is this. I don't even know what that stuff is. I'm kind of like Jimi Hendrix when he plays guitar. He never knew how to read music. He just jammed out, and look how great his stuff was. This is all from my heart. I mean, if we were sitting here and you say, Gary, can you tell me about if taxes are too high in America? Or what about the healthcare system? I would stumble through it. I wouldn't know what to say. But if you ask me about what animals are going through, well, wait a second, I got something to tell you. I've seen their pain. I've felt their pain. So this is all
da ist ein Profi in dem Bereich.
pouring out of me because I have empathy, because this is what I was put here to do. So this is why I'm such a good speaker in front of crowds and in front of the camera.
Well, let's talk about your vegan beginnings, like where you think the roots of that. I mean, you did touch on it just there, where you started learning about animals in school, and so you started talking about animals in circuses and things like that.
The elephant that I saw at the Shrine Circus, my stepdad is a clown. He passed away, by the way, about 2 years ago, and God bless Myron, because he created me. He invites me backstage to see the elephants at the circus. Who doesn't want to see the elephants? I'm like, fuck yeah, I want to see the elephants. Really? I can go see the elephants? And I was with my girlfriend, Wendy, at the time, and we were playfully pushing each other. I'm first. We're running backstage and giggling until we got backstage. I'm no wildlife biologist. I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not a philosopher either, but I'm aware. And I sense nothing but sadness in all these creatures that were back there, especially the elephants, who were these massive 2,000-pound creatures, front left feet, back right feet, chained in the cement floor, the Michigan State Fairgrounds warehouse. I turned to Wendy, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I don't know. I remember seeing some monkeys and screaming in their cages and tigers pacing, and our laughter, turned to sadness instantly, and we walked back out solemnly for the rest of the show. And we only sat there until the bears came out wearing yellow tutus and riding tricycles. And I looked at Wendy and said, let's get the hell out of here. That was the day Gary was born.
Krass, der hat im Zirkus oder im Zoo gemerkt, oder Zirkus hat er gemerkt, dass da irgendwas schief läuft. Das ist krass. Also hab ich nicht. Ich habe einfach nur geguckt und gesagt, oh, toll.
As an activist, of course I didn't go full-fledged, but that was what awakened me. Something is going on. I thought I was an animal lover. I always said I'm an animal lover. Well, what it really meant was I'm a dog lover, cat lover, squirrels, bunny rabbits, penguins. You know,
ja, man mag nur ganz bestimmte Tiere. Seltsam.
all the animals that we actually don't exploit in this part of the world, at least. And it's easy to love animals when you're not eating those animals and wearing those animals' skins.
Ja, vielen Dank für deinen Kommentar, Felix.
So I actually started talking about circuses at the gym where I was working out, Powerhouse Gym in Centerline, and I would always talk about those elephants. And a couple of guys started saying, you know what, Gary, I'm sick of hearing about the elephants in the circus, you hypocrite. You eat dead cows and dead pigs. Little did they know the seeds that they were planting, because they were right. For anyone out there who thinks you're an animal lover and you're still eating animals, bullshit. So they kept calling me out, and I kept thinking more and more, but I want everyone to know I was as stubborn as they come. This is why I think I worked so well with audiences. I knew what they were thinking. I knew how hard the transition was. I knew how difficult it was to look in the mirror and say, I was wrong. Self-condemnation is a hard thing, but I don't know why we all can't eventually do it. Make amends. That's all you can do. You can't know everything. No one's a genius from birth. So the moment, I'm not sure if people know this story, so now I'm going to fast forward to 1995, the Detroit Red Wings hockey team. They have this horrible tradition, they still do it, of throwing dead octopuses on the ice. It started in the 1950s or 60s. Some schmuck throws an octopus on the ice. The 8 tentacles, supposed to signify the 8 wins it took to win the Stanley Cup championship. Okay, this is outrageous for many reasons. Number one, first and foremost, we're murdering octopuses just to have fun.
Ja, davon habe ich noch nie was gehört.
But second of all, in the 1990s, it's no longer 8 wins to win the Stanley Cup, it's 16 wins. So it doesn't even mean what the original people wanted it to mean anymore. But the fans in Detroit didn't care, the Red Wings didn't care. In fact, they were promoting it with octopus paraphernalia, hats and t-shirts and jackets. The Detroit Free Press, our newspaper, or the Detroit News, or both of them used to do an octometer where they ranked the performance of the players. So they were pushing it. They were pushing it so much that they were throwing 50 to 100 octopuses on the ice each night during the playoffs. I went and found out where they were coming from, Superior Fish Company in Royal Oak. And this is how bad marine animals got it. We don't know exactly how many octopuses were murdered because they're not important enough to count individually. We weigh them. So all I can tell you was during that first month of the playoffs, they sold 4,000 pounds of octopuses. So I called up a radio station, WDFN. I still remember Greg Henson also created me too. He was the host. I get on the air. I don't know how to talk to people. I'm not even vegetarian yet, let alone vegan. I get on the air, I'm screaming, Detroit Tigers going to throw dead tigers on the field. San Jose Sharks going to throw dead sharks on the field. Every sports team I could think of that has an animal mascot, I'm saying, are they going to throw this dead animal on the ice? He interrupts me and says, Gary, hold on. What'd you have for dinner last night? I knew what he meant because I'd been avoiding it. I want everybody to know right now, I am not a liar. In fact, the truth I speak gets me in trouble. You know the haters I got out there because I speak my mind. I'll talk about anything how I feel. And the truth that I speak gets me in trouble. Well, guess who decided to lie the first time? And to show you how idiotic I was as a meat eater, what did I think vegetarians and vegans ate? Salad. I said, salad. Well, to Greg's, props to Greg, he actually says, well, okay, continue. Guilt Instant guilt. Oh my God, he believed me. So as I'm going on and on about how outrageous this is, he lets me go on for nearly 2 minutes. That's a lot of time on the air, uninterrupted. In fact, as I was winding down, he says to me, "Is there anything else you'd like to add?" Oh my God, he believed me. He really fell for this. I can't believe I just lied and he bought it. And I remember saying, "No, Greg, that's it. Thanks a lot." As I'm taking the phone off my ear, I look at the phone, I say, "That is the shortest lived lie ever. I'm done. It's not a lie anymore." Never ate another piece of meat at that point. He made me vegetarian. Now, like most vegetarians, I wasn't aware about how insanely cruel the dairy industry was and the egg industry, stealing baby cows from their mothers.
Der war mal Vegetarier, Heiliger. Ich fasse es immer noch nicht, dass ich niemals einer war.
Grinding up male chicks because they don't lay eggs while they're fully conscious. They get ground up. So now I want to learn more. I need to gather information. I know this is the right thing, but I want to know exactly why. Can't find one friend or family member to go with me to Washington, D.C. in 1996 to the big animal rights march. I go down there by myself. I'm so excited I actually show up 2 days early. Nobody's there. I'm just hanging around. I'm like, okay, I thought there were going to be people early. I'm just waiting for people. Finally, I'm sitting in the lobby, a group of people from Texas. How do I know this? They came in, about 20 people, Texans for animal rights. I jump up, I run up, "Hey, I'm Gary from Michigan. How you guys doing? Hey, Gary, how you doing? Where can we get a good veggie burger?" Oh man, the Hard Rock Cafe right down the street. I was just there. Great veggie burger. But that's not vegan. So, what do you think happens to mother cows when they can't give milk anymore? Oh. I'm reciting this for a reason because I didn't know and I didn't fight. I hate when people fight when we tell them the truth or come up with stupid excuses. I didn't know when they told me and I said one syllable. Oh. Didn't realize. Vegan. So 1996 is when I became vegan. In fact, in July right now, this marks my 29th year of veganism.
29 Jahre vegan. Yep, das machst du ihm nicht nach.
I'm so thankful for those people from Texas that just all they had to say was, "What do you think happens to mama cows when they can't give milk?" And it's really that simple. So.
Your journey kind of become the blueprint for your activism going forward, because I know that this is a way that you educate others. Yeah. First, you hold them accountable, the hypocrisy, this guy on the radio station, then you hope that they have some internal conflict there, and then you hit them with the education, which you were out there, you were looking for knowledge, but obviously like these days it's everywhere. Back then, harder to find, right?
There was no internet, by the way, when I started, just so everybody knows. I'm ancient. No internet.
Der ist Veganer geworden ohne Internet. Einfach nur insane.
Internet, literally none, didn't exist.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So, when was the first time, like, you saw a factory farm for yourself? Or have you ever been inside of a facility where they...
I've been in a lot. A lot of the footage I used to show, I actually went myself and got.
I didn't know that. Tell us about your first time, or one of your most profound experiences inside of one of these hellholes.
It's funny, I'd like to tell you about my last time more than anything, because I almost never get to tell this story because it brings tears. We'll see if we can get through it. This is, I've already gathered enough footage, and there's enough footage out there I use just to mix into all my slaughterhouse videos. About 12 to 15 minutes into every speech I ended up giving, I would show about a 5-minute slaughterhouse clip. I'm in Manchester, Michigan, which is where Sasha Farm is located. On the way to Sasha Farm, there's actually an auction house. I decided to go in there, and it's a public place. I didn't even have to sneak in like I used to in other times. I went backstage, and I'm filming 2 sheep and 2 cows, and they're marked with paint. Blue paint stripes representing the males and pink stripes representing the females, the obscene things that we do to them that most people have no idea. about, and I'm filming them, and for the first time in all the years that I went and did all my shit, from my mink liberation to this, the animals always knew I was the good guy. That day they didn't. And they backed up in their stall as far as they could, and they were shivering. And I'm trying to talk to them, even though I'm too stupid to speak animal languages, because they have languages, but we're all too fucking stupid to understand, myself included. And I'm trying to let them know, no, wait, I'm gonna show people what you're going through. Don't be scared of me. I'm not one of those guys. But all they did was turn in fear and shiver, as if they were saying, what the fuck are you gonna cut off of me now? Where are you taking me now? And I couldn't go there anymore. I've only told this story about 4 or 5 times. And if anybody wonders why vegans become so angry or militant, me included, well, that's fucking why. Because we do everything in our power not to be a devil. And all they saw was a 2-legged devil. And I wasn't. And again, this is why the anger builds up sometimes, and you feel the wrath of vegans.
There's pain under there.
It's, I even, the other times I did this to try to subdue students who were so out of control. And when I say how much I despise humans and we're an evil species, these are the moments where my thoughts were born, because it didn't even work with them. And worked with the rest of the crowd. They were in tears too, couldn't believe it. And the defiant ones were just, I don't care. That's why they're here. And in my head, I'm going, I can't believe that story didn't work with these people. How evil can you be? Even if you weren't going to change, how could you at least not back down and stop fighting with me and say, all right, man, I see what you're saying. But, I mean, they just kept coming at me. It's just so outrageous. So that was the last time I said, I just can't take it anymore. In fact, I'm at a point in my life, I can't take death anymore. The last dog I had, Doyle, passed away about 6 years ago. And I refused to bring another dog into my life. This has led to battles with Eric and I, and we broke up, by the way, last August after 15 years. Still great friends, but every day it was a little battle. Can we go rescue a dog? I said, no. And the next time a dog dies in front of me, I'm going to shoot myself in the head. Is this what you want? I cannot, and I know it's not healthy. This is why I mentioned the PTSD earlier. I believe I have this. I cannot handle death. Now, I love all the critters I have in my backyard. I make my backyard a haven for them. There's about 5 or 6 bunny rabbits living in there this year. In fact, baby bunnies. I never saw baby bunnies until this year. There were 2 of them in the backyard. I got squirrels. I got 2 bird baths. I change the bird baths sometimes 7, 8 times a day. I want them to have fresh water. There's about 20 or 30 birds that are always hanging out. There's a groundhog back there. There's a rat.
Eden.
He walked past me last year. I'm standing there. We thought there was one back there. And I'm standing there. He literally saunters right by me slowly. And I remember looking down and going, you picked the right yard, buddy, to hang out in. You're welcome here, too. Everyone's welcome in my yard. So I love all the critters in my backyard. I just can't get overly attached to any. Now, that doesn't mean I haven't helped dogs over the years. People say, Gary, here's a dog that needs a home. I'll just go find him a home somewhere else. Yeah. So don't act like Gary. Gary's not saving dogs. I just can't bring it into my life. And I know it's not healthy. I know that I can't deal with death is something I probably need to deal with.
Ja, also er kann keine Haustiere halten, weil die werden ja irgendwann sterben und das verträgt er nicht, mental nicht. Kann ich nachvollziehen. Auch ein Grund, sich keine Haustiere anzuschaffen.
I don't want to deal with that end anymore. And Doyle died in front of me, and Erica, he had a heart attack and dropped dead in front of us, and I can't get this image out of my head. And I know I'm supposed to think.
Ja, das ist so ähnlich, wie wenn du Kinder kriegen würdest und das Leben ist so gemacht, dass die Kinder vor dir sterben. Also die sind die Ersten, die sterben. Du bringst sie auf die Welt und musst zusehen, wie die sterben.
About the good times. And we're always supposed to do that too, even with our human companions that have passed. And I can't help but think to that moment when it happened, and it just wasn't supposed to happen that way.
You can't really control death, and it's inevitable. And it's the painful part about it is that when the being is sentient, that sentient experience is going to end. And if someone is killing that sentient being, you have power to try to go out there and do something about it, which is what you did for a long time. But with natural death, that is an inevitable part of life that you can't control or do something about. So who are you supposed to advocate to for that?
I don't know. I know.
Ja, wait, what? Wild Animal Suffering, klar kann man dagegen was tun und auch darüber reden.
Oh, and he lived, he was 15 years old. It was a long, healthy life. In fact, we gave him a second chance, like most of the
Komischer Take da von Carbstrong.
vegans in the movement. I had a friend, Marie Sklad from Michigan Humane Society calls me, or Michigan Animal Adoption Network. I think she worked with both. She says to me, I happened to call her. I said,
Ich habe gestern erst ein Paper reingesendet in den Studienkanal, genau zu dem Thema.
You got any old dogs that need a home? I love old dogs, by the way. She goes, oh my God, somebody dropped off a 10-year-old black lab today, said they didn't want him anymore. I said, okay, hang on, give me 2 hours. I got to go buy a new bed and some doggy bowls. I'll be there and I'm going to get him. And he lived a great last 5 years, and as a vegan, by the way. And let me throw this out there, my last 2 dogs were
Der füttert seine Haustiere vegan, hört ihr das mal an. Da hat's einer verstanden, ne?
and Doyle lived till they were 15, both as vegans. My meat-eating dogs, when I was growing up, died when they were 9, 10, and 11. Personal epidemiological study. Veganism is better for the dogs too.
I want to talk about your arrest. You were arrested 13
Haustiere leben gesünder, wenn man sie vegan ernährt.
times.
Hunde und Katzen. Wahrscheinlich alle Tiere. Wahrscheinlich auch Füchse. Ja, eine Veganerin hatte ja einen Fuchs oder hat einen Fuchs. Der hat ihn von den ganzen Krankheiten geheilt, die er hatte, indem sie ihn auf eine vegane Ernährung gesetzt hat.
For what you say are random acts of kindness to animals, objectively they are, of course. What I thought was
What?
they are random acts of kindness to animals, objectively they are, of course. Arrested 13 times. For what you say are random acts of kindness to animals, objectively they are, of course. What I thought was kind of crazy about this is that most of your arrests, well, literally all of them, other than the mink arrest, happened after the mink arrest, which you were on trial for, which ultimately led to you going to prison. Like, no, there's one thing getting arrested. There's one thing facing trial and possible prison and then getting arrested another 12 times after that. Because usually people will be like, I better not get arrested again. Your lawyer's like, what are you doing? So that's a thing that I haven't heard you mention that you got arrested most of the times after your main arrest that led you to prison, but I thought that was pretty gutsy.
So people think I'm radical now. You didn't know radical Gary unless you were around in the 90s. I didn't give a fuck about going to jail, getting shot, anything. The police, the court system did not know how to handle me because, as you pointed out, there's the threat. You're going to go to jail, or you're going to be put on probation, or whatever. I'm going to shoot you because my gun is drawn. And what do you do when somebody says, I don't give a shit? Shoot me. I don't care. Take me to jail. When I get out, I'm going to come back and do the same thing again. Then what? Or I would defy judges. I would interrupt judges, and my attorneys always said, I'd never seen anyone interrupt a judge and have the judge actually listen. I said, I'm not interrupting to be a dick. I'm making a point. So of course they listen. And I was so articulate when I wanted to say something, they had to pay attention. So it was, the 90s were a crazy time. Even when I look back, I'm like, man, I was so radical,
Chaining
so
your neck
radically
to cars.
focused.
Like you were chaining your neck to things, make a statement like you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like that's defiance. Take us like to the beginning of this mink liberation and like what led to it, and then take us in. Like you're walking in, you're about, like, it would be great to get a good paint that picture.
Okay. So there's actually Hilma Ruby, who was one of my close allies. Dear friend, if you're out there, Hilma, I still love you. We haven't talked in a long time. There were 5 of us. Only Hilma and I stayed true to the cause. The other 3 ended up turning state's evidence and saving their own asses and actually turning me in. So Hilma actually was the one who planned this, which is hysterical because everybody thinks it was me. I was a newbie back then. I was still new to the game. She knew where this mink farm was. So when we organized it and who was going to do what, I had the job of opening up the cages. Hilma was going to spray paint ALF on the 5 sheds at this mink farm. Alan and Robin were cutting holes in the perimeter fence so the mink can find their way across the field, right across this dirt road, by the way, 600 acres of fields. That's all they had to do was get out. Keep in mind, I can't lift 1,542 creatures to safety, but I can give them a chance. Open up the cage. Same thing with humans. I can't take that many, but you would want me to come by that night if you were about to be killed, have your neck broken, and say, just open up the cage, give me a chance. And that's what I did that night. So, and then when they got done opening up the, cutting holes in the perimeter fence, they were supposed to come and help me finish opening up the cages. So, and Pat was the driver. Now, the reason most people don't know what went wrong that night was Pat, she was supposed to drop us off at 2, which she did. We found a place back in town, 15 minutes away, a bar, go park at the bar, go inside the bar.
Erzählt er jetzt von seiner Straftat oder was?
Don't care. Come back at 3. We timed it down to an hour. That's all we needed. Well, she was driving up and down the dirt road in Blenheim, Ontario. She wanted to see what was going on. Well, even though it was a rural area, and it was, there were very few houses, there were some houses. And some guy calls the police and says, there's a strange van driving up and down the road at 2:30 in the morning. So the cops actually show up and stop her. Now, Canadian cops are really cool, by the way. Much love to them. They actually followed protocol and said, you know, what's going on? What are you doing? And Pat lied and said she was lost. They said, well, okay. Turn around, get to the 401. I want you to go up there, make a left and make a right. So they follow her, let her go, turn their lights off. And what does Pat do? After 2 minutes, she turns around. So now they flip their lights on and say, what's the hell's going on? We told you where to go. We knew something was up. Now we want to, you know, go inside the van. So they start looking in the van. There's ski masks, there's bolt cutters there, there's other stuff there.
Huh.
So they realize now something's going on. Now, I realized something was going on. I'm in the 5th shed. Last shed, I'm opening up cage by cage by cage. And in fact, I had such a pattern going like this, cage, cage, cage. My triceps were hurting. It ended up being a tricep workout, but I couldn't stop for them, right? I'm opening up cage after cage. And I remember it was one cage I couldn't get open. The lock was stuck, whatever. I just couldn't get it. I passed it and I kept going down and down. And I'm looking back like, oh my God, they must be thinking, how could you leave me? And I went back and I just kicked the hell out of that fucking cage and broke it open. I'm like, okay, guys, you can get out too. And there was a moment I was warned in advance, they're carnivores, they're going to attack you. And I remember opening up one cage and a mink dove out, landed on my chest. Swear to God. He was up on his hind legs because I leaned back in kind of in attack mode. And I remember just going like this and looking at him. And I swear he did the, you know, the head tilt that animals do, like checking me out. And he jumped off and I remember going, he knew who I was. Of course he did. I'm the liberator. He's not going to attack me. And I remember these 1,500 minks just looking for the exit, not looking to attack. And a symphony of screams, of joy and freedom that had rang out that night. Like, oh my God, we're out of these cages. I'm just like, go. So Robin.
Ja, stimmt, ja klar, wenn man die ganzen Tiere rauslässt, dann machen ja Geräusche und dann hört sich das an wie so ein Befreiungsgesang.
Goes up in the shed and she starts helping me, but I see headlights outside. I say, wait a second, hold on. And I go and I peek out front and I see 2 cars down the street. Talking to each other. I'm like, oh man.
Der Typ ist aber auch ein guter Erzähler, ne? Es macht voll Spaß, ihm zuzuhören.
This isn't good. Something's going on. This is not good. And all of a sudden I hear, hey, motherfucker, stop right there. So the mink farmers were in the shed now. They knew, they had heard the symphony of joy from the liberated mink. So I grabbed Robin by her shoulder and I said, follow me. And I start running, and I'm holding her shoulder, but I can't hold her shoulder for the whole time. I assume she's going to be behind me. I run out. I jump over a fence I'm not an acrobat, but in the moment of adrenaline, I jumped, I dove, rolled, didn't miss a beat, ran into the field. I look around and there's no Robin. And I later found out that she froze. Mink farmers grabbed her. I'm worried the whole time thinking, are they beating her up? Are they raping her? And I'm just like, fuck. But we had an agreement going in. Whoever gets away, gets away. We knew what the risk was. We're going to jail. We're willing to give our freedom for these mink. In fact, all 5 of us had to drive separately to the meeting point that night so nobody could say they were coerced into going there. In fact, my uncle was one of them, Alan. He was an hour late. We almost just left. I said, he's not showing up, let's go. And then he pulls up. I'm bringing this up too because later on in the court trial, he claimed that he was coerced. Like, that's why you had to drive separately. So anyways, actually, so now I'm in the field and I'm ducking down. I'm about 50 feet in the field. Cops are out, lights are out, the dogs are out sniffing. I'm like, oh man. All of a sudden I hear some rumbling going on. And I'm like, oh shit, somebody's in this field. And I just go, I'm taking a guess. I'm like, Alan. He's like, yeah. So my uncle did get away too. Robin was apprehended, Pat was arrested in the car, and Hilma was apprehended on the property. So Alan and I end up on our, like a soldier, on our stomachs. We go through the field. I mean, it must have been 2 miles back to town, and they never found us. Crawled our way back to town. Now, big mistake so there's always a comical aspect to all the crazy shit I do. So we get back to town and I realize I took my wallet out and put it in the car because I said, well, what if I drop my wallet? Then they'll find my ID. Well, I had no money. We had nothing. Here we are at a convenience store, an all-night 24-hour store. I'm like, well, now what? What do we do? So I'm very persuasive. I asked the store manager to call a taxi. He calls a taxi shows up. I said, let me take this. I walk up to the taxi guy. I say, listen, I don't have any money, but I'm a VIP at the Windsor Casino. If you get me to the Windsor Casino, I will give you $500. This is all true, by the way. This is not a lie. I say, give me to the casino. I will give you $500 if you take us back. And then I pulled the Jesus card. In the name of Jesus, can you please do this? We are lost. We don't know where we're at. Can you please take us back to town in the name of Jesus? I assumed he would turn down a Jesus plea. And sure enough, he looks at me. He's like, all right, get in the car. So we get in the car and we're driving back. I got to tell you, I'm worried to death about everyone else, but I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe we got away. This is crazy. We're about an hour away now. The guy in the taxi driver was talking on the phone about 10 minutes in. We find out later at the court hearing. We're in such a small town. There's only one taxi driver in this town. So when the police finally showed up at the convenience store and asked the manager, anything strange going on tonight? I said, yeah, there were 2 guys that just asked for a taxi and they looked really lost and confused. One guy seemed to smell like mink shit, animal shit. So the cops were talking to the taxi driver, trying to find out the location, and the questions were something like this: are you afraid? No. And then everything was yes or no. Are they armed? No. Are they threatening you? No. Okay. You're on the 401 highway? Yes. Okay, we're coming up behind you. And all of a sudden, about 45 minutes, hour in, all of a sudden the lights go on, and my heart just goes, oh no, they got me. And at that point, there's no more defiance. Come out, hands up. They had their gun. I'm like, okay, guys, all right, you got. And they were very nice and cordial too, even at that point. Once we said, all right, and they cuffed us and brought us in. So that was quite an experience too. And they held us for 10 days.
Cool story.
On a bail hearing, which is insane. Because I don't think a child molester, rapist, or a murderer has ever been held for a bail hearing. It's like 10 days. I mean, you might be denied bail, but they didn't want to give us bail because they thought we would go back to Michigan, never go back to Canada. There's no extradition for mink liberations, so they didn't know what to do with us. On day 10, Robin was the first one to turn state's evidence. She gave a statement to the court. She was my best animal rights friend at the time. I didn't believe what was going on. I remember my attorney, Steve Rogan, says to me, they took a court recess and said, just so you know, they're making a decision today. I know this has been 10 days, and we've been telling you, today's the day. Robin's giving a statement. They're letting her walk on $10,000 bail. You guys are being denied. And I remember screaming, bullshit. Robin is solid. I don't know where the fuck you're getting your information. Gary, I'm just telling you what I know. I just talked to the Chronic. Shut up, Steve. Shut up and don't say anything bad about Robin. She's like me. I said, okay. So they bring us back to the court. They put us in the little defendant's box. There's 4 of us now. There's no Robin. I'm starting to go, oh boy. All of a sudden, Robin comes in, walks in, head down. Now, she's got to walk by me and sit here. This was her seat. So I'm trying to look at her. She's coming through. She's got her head down, and I'm looking like this, and she won't look at me.
Confirmation there.
She sits down. Judge comes in, reads her statement. Gary did this, and Alan did this, and Hilma organized it. And she was saying shit like wasn't even about the mink liberation. Oh, and 2 months ago, Gary and I went and fucking broke some windows at this place at McDonald's, and we spray painted. I'm like, why don't you just fucking tell them everything we've ever done? What does that have to do with the mink liberation? So she gets up and leaves. It was crazy, but my attorney was great. He stands up and he says, you can't give one person bail when all 5 are charged with the same crime just because she cooperated. They had a right not to cooperate and remain silent. You have to give them all the same amount of bail. So the judge ended up giving us all this $10,000 bail. And then the trial goes on for 2 years. So this is 97. Fast forward 2 years later, 99.
97. Right, so it goes for 2 years.
2-year trial.
Before we get to your sentencing, because before we go there,
Die Gerichtsverhandlung ging 2 Jahre.
you did a lot of things before your sentencing, and that's where I was trying
This
to
is
say.
where the bulk of all my arrests happened in between.
Yeah, so did your lawyer tell you, like, this is a pretty serious charge, like, this is, like, you're facing, like, this trials, you could probably be looking at prison time, right?
Yeah.
He
ended up saying it was going to be around 3 years.
And then you went, fuck you, I'm still
Again,
going.
you didn't know how radical, how much I didn't care. And yeah, and now keep in mind, that was Canada. I'm from Michigan, so I am out of the jurisdiction. I don't think that would have stopped me, even if I was in the jurisdiction. But yeah, and then I can tell you about the first arrest in America, which has a great comical aspect to it too.
Yeah, like you wanted to say something about you locking your neck to vehicles and that, but go, whatever you.
Yes, we had heard it was a great tactic. You chain your neck to the rear wheel axle of your car, because then they can't move your car without breaking your neck. And it took the police anywhere from 45 minutes to 3 hours to figure out how to cut somebody loose. And then I thought media was valuable, something interesting. I don't think it's valuable anymore, but we wanted to get on the news. Only way to get on the news about animal rights back then was to do something outrageous. So we were going to do this civil disobedience. And opening night, Shrine Circus, Michigan State Fairgrounds, for a reason. That's where I discovered everything. So I was going to use my car and block and diagonal my car as I pulled into the main entranceway and block the entranceway, jump out, chain my neck, and my friend T.U. Rubin, she was in the passenger seat, and she was going to chain her neck to the door frame of the passenger door. So we leaked it to the media. Well, it got leaked back to the police because as we did our drive-by, there's 12 cops standing in the entranceway. And I remember as I passed slowly past the 6 or 7 protesters, my friend Marie mouths to me, "Do it now, the media's here, they're gonna leave, do it now." I remember going, there's 12 cops there, what do you mean? So I did a drive-by, and then I turned to TU, I said, okay, we're gonna do this. You know why? Element of surprise. When you see something bizarre and crazy, you rarely comprehend it off the bat. It takes you 10, 15 seconds. Wait, what the hell just happened? I said, now they didn't know my face back then. I couldn't do that later on. Everybody knew who I was when I was there. I said, they don't know. They just know something's going on. So I get back in line to the entranceway, and I start diagonaling my car, and the one cop says, "Sir, straighten your car out." And I just ignore him. Now I'm more diagonal until it's almost perfect. He says, "Sir," I said, "straighten your car out." He comes up to the door, and I get out of the car, face to face with 12 cops, and I say, "Something wrong with my car, officer," and got down like I was looking underneath and slid under there, boom, boom, click, click. Now, we practiced. I had it down to 12 seconds, and I nailed it in 12 seconds, and I yell out to TU, "TU, are you chained?" She goes, "I'm chained too." And all of a sudden, 15 seconds later, the first cop, "Oh shit, those are the activists chained in there next to the car." I'm like, element of surprise. They knew, but they didn't know. Like, what is he doing under the car? So, the funny aspect is, as I'm under there, all in militant mode. I look to the right, and guess who left the car running? Because during practice, I was supposed to turn the car off. The muffler is blowing all the exhaust right into my face. I'm like, oh, fuck. At least I'm outside. I'm not going to die, but I don't want to breathe this in. So first cop comes up to me, and he leans under, and he says, and by the way, I guess we shouldn't judge books by their covers. I thought he looked like a Nazi. He had knee-high boots. He had this mustache going down, and he goes, "What you doing, buddy?" "I'm chaining my neck to the car because the elephants aren't chained, and this is slavery, and I'm making a protest about this." He said, "Oh, okay, all right. You like breathing those exhaust fumes?" "No." "You want me to shut your car off for you?" And I lean out as far as I could, and I just touched his leg gently, and I said, "Would you mind?" He goes, his name was Robert, by the way, he shuts the car off, takes the keys and puts them down next to me. He was one of the sweetest cops I ever met in all my years of protesting. And the media runs over now. I'm doing all my interviews. T's talking to as well. And it took the cops, I think it was an hour and a half to call the fire department, bring the jaws of life down and cut me loose. Now they yanked me out quickly by my feet. Again, I got an authority problem, even with police. And I jump up and I'm saying, "Hey, don't manhandle me like that. I want to get arrested. You can arrest me now." And they're all reaching for their guns at that point. I'm like, "Calm down." Now Robert, the sweet cop, turns to the sergeant and says, "Sarge, just give this guy a citation. Let him go. He's just protesting." And the sergeant says, "Fuck you, Robert. Impound this car and take him downtown right now." He says again, "Sarge, give the guy a citation. They're just protesters. Just let him go." Arrest him, impound his car. And as they're taking me away, I'm looking at Robert as well. I'm like, "Oh, man, thanks." And he looked at me, I tried. So when I got down to the police station, he actually came up to me while I was in the cell, and he says, "Hey, man, I don't know. These guys don't understand what you're doing. They're making fun of you." He's pointing towards 10 cops are laughing in the background. He goes, "I'm kind of understanding what you were saying. In fact, tell me more." So I was able to educate him about the circus. He listened to me. He was really nice. Whenever Robert was there over the years, I never got messed with. But when he wasn't there, the Detroit Police Department arrested me 4 times, illegally and unlawfully. It was one of their favorite pastimes. Let's fuck with Gary. And so that was the first arrest after the Mink liberation. And I was nervous too. For everybody out there thinking of this, I think direct action is a wonderful, wonderful tactic. You want to talk about instant liberation? Okay, open up a cage, set somebody free, but beware of the consequences, okay? They are dire. There will be jail time if things go bad. And I was in a good era. I was only going to get maybe 3 years, ended up with 6 months. But nowadays, man, they're handing out 5, 10, even more years.
6 Monate war er im Knast, okay.
So just be careful. Now, civil disobedience.
Weil er Tiere vor Mord befreit hat.
I'll be open about this. I don't think it's an effective tactic anymore in this day and age. I think it used to be effective. I might have caught the tail end of it myself. I'm not even sure how one.
Ich meine, ja. Auf der anderen Seite, wenn du dir anguckst, was hat der Typ gekriegt, der eine Katze oder der mehrere Katzen umgebracht hat? Der Serienkiller, 5 Jahre hatte bekommen, ne? Wenn du Katzen tötest, 5 Jahre. Und in Supermärkten stapeln sich die Leichen bis zur Decke. Well.
Wonderfully effective it was, but.
Willkommen auf der Erde.
It's lost its luster. Like sign-carrying protests to me have lost its luster. Not really effective. Nobody cares. You can stand outside of a fur store on Fur Free Friday, and they're going to be like, "Just leave them. They'll be gone in 2 hours. Let them. We're going to be there from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Who cares?" It used to mean something 60s, 70s, and 80s, but nowadays there are a lot of things that I stopped doing as I was running the gamut of activism.
You did get arrested multiple, I think, well,
a lot.
A lot more. I mean, I know, it's just crazy. Like, you just wouldn't stop. But your sentencing day, D-Day, right, comes along. So that's 2 years you were going to trial for, and they adjourn it, and it's a long, grueling
pre-trial hearings, all that.
Yeah. So, and D-Day's like, probably a bit nervous. Like, how did you feel on D-Day? And tell us about, like, what happened that day and the sentencing, and did you expect the sentence and things like that?
I knew I was going to jail. I also knew I wanted to give a statement. Now, Usually it always came easy to me over the years, but remember, this is still early on, so maybe I had to think a little harder, but I couldn't come up with what I wanted to say until about 2 weeks before this final trial date. I wake up in the middle of the night, which most of my great stuff came to me in the middle of the night. This brain I have is a curse and a blessing and rarely let me sleep. That's why 2 hours a night. I was always in a mock debate with somebody. What are you going to say when Bill O'Reilly says this? What are you going to say when Jon Stewart says this? I'm like, just let me sleep. Oh, wait, I got something really good. As if people really like the things I came up with. That's all night long. So I wake up, I'm trying to sleep, and all of a sudden I go, I stand before this court without trepidation and without timidity because the truth cannot be suppressed today. And I had a piece of paper next to it. I literally wrote out.
You wrote the entire speech in one spark of inspiration?
Came out to me in the middle of the night. I got it, and that was the opening. And it just flowed out of me. So I knew I wanted to say this. Now, I was being warned because keep in mind, even though the lawyers were cool to me, understood what I was doing, they still wanted to follow the rules. Don't be dramatic, Gary. Don't challenge the judge and the system. Yeah. So Steve was scary. This is not a good idea. I know how you are. Don't say what you want to say. I said, Steve, it's going to be said in advance. So we had also had an arrangement with the Crown Attorney, remember this is Canna, he was actually going to let me go back home after I was found guilty.
Also die Ausrede hat sich ganz gut angehört.
Which I knew I was going to be found guilty. By the way, I was hassling the system. People say, why didn't you just stand? I said, well, wait, they harassed me for 10 days and wouldn't give me a bail hearing or give me bail. So I harassed them back and made them go through a trial that I knew I was going to be found guilty of. The agreement was they were going to let me go back home, you know, make sure Rex, my dog at the time, I can pass him off to my mom or my dad, make sure my rent is paid, close down with this or that. So judge finds me guilty, Judge A. Cusinato, and then he's told by the Crown Attorney and my attorney, you know, he'll be back for sentencing next week. The judge says, no, I'm not letting this man go. He might go back to Michigan and not come back. And my attorney said, we had an agreement. He said, I don't care what the agreement is. He's not leaving. So I lean over and said, you tell him I want to give the speech right now. I wasn't even prepared that day because I thought I was coming back to get the sentence and then do the speech. But I love those moments, those semi-freestyle moments or the freestyle moments that I do nowadays when I'm talking on all the podcasts. And I said, I'm ready. Let's do it. And Steve said, Gary, don't do this. He goes, you're gonna get 3 years, man. I said, it's being done. So, best speech I ever gave in my life. Only those in the courtroom heard it that day.
Can you read it for us?
I have to get my phone.
I've got it here.
Oh, you do?
Of course, I know this speech. Wow. It's.
I'm positive, by the way, they have an audio copy. I remember seeing a tape recorder. I tried to get a copy. I've had journalists who have been supportive of me try to get a copy. They refuse. You're not going to get the same emotion and passion, obviously, because I was militant back in the 90s.
That's fine. I love this speech. I do have a copy of it, and I've copied it into a document for you to read here, because I would love to have a clip of you read.
Surprise, by
no, don't worry, man. I'm onto this, mate. I was onto this speech. I thought it was one of the most. Well, I'll just let you read it.
I stand before this court without trepidation and without timidity because the truth cannot be suppressed today. And that was said without notes.
Das ist viel zu krass, Mann.
You didn't have a... No, you did that off the top of your head?
Mm-hmm. With the most passion I've ever delivered anything. You got to remember again, the 90s Gary militancy. They didn't know how to handle me. And the judge ends up saying something to the effect, one of the trite lines, it's not that I disagree with what you believe in, it's you broke a law and I have to punish you. Now, I want people to know it was also my goal to not only put the mink murderer out of business, I was really banking on the fact that this judge would take his gavel, say, I cannot find this man guilty.
Ja, aber das kann er ja nicht machen. Ansonsten hätte er ihn freigesprochen, dann würden die anderen, viele andere, vielleicht 1000 Menschen das Gleiche machen.
It was an act.
Der Das Einzige, was er sagen kann, ist, es war eine Straftat und ich muss so handeln, das war's.
Of kindness. It didn't happen. He ends up giving me a 6-month sentence, at which point Steve leans over to me, my attorney, and says, "You just saved yourself 2.5 years."
Oh, wow.
I've never heard anybody talk their way to a lower sentence. I'm telling you, the Crown Attorney told me this morning you were getting 3 years. It was agreed upon. Wow. And he said, wow, what a speech. So they come and cuff me, and they walk me down the aisle as they're taking me away. If I could stand up for a second. I knew there was a row of mink farmers, about 25. And as they passed, I stopped the 2 cops, and I looked down the aisle, and I stared them down, just like this. And the cops are trying to pull, and I was bigger back then, by the way, I was 207, I'm 170 now. I was harder to handle, and they finally pulled me away. I was just letting them know.
Yep.
I was the one that was right. And that was wild, man.
Because like, if there was that judge would not be human to hear that speech and not be affected in some way. Seems like you...
I remember, though, when I got to the part, if it's not a crime to torture, then how can it be a crime to free torture? I remember him going, like he got it. And again, wasn't doing it to be obnoxious, to be a dick. I have a point to make. We have a point to make if people would shut up and listen. So...
The judge isn't above the law, so the judge has to do something.
Although, I think one day it's going to happen. Some judge somewhere is going to take his gavel and say, I cannot find these people guilty for helping innocent beings out of a place of torture.
Ja, und dann machen das alle nach und dann? Das ist dann ja ein Präzedenzfall.
Set a new precedent or something like that.
It's going to have to, a precedent has to happen at some point.
Ja, aber dann werden sich die anderen dran halten. Warum soll das für die anderen dann nicht gelten?
Yeah.
So, yeah, real honor to hear you say that.
Thank you.
Read that out. That was
Actually, I always wanted to get that on tape.
Yeah.
I've never recorded that. It's the first time ever that I've reset it.
Yeah, no, and you said it perfectly.
It's almost like it came out too.
Yeah.
A little more passion because of the moment.
The adrenaline comes through, man, when that fire.
And that poured out of me that night.
Yeah.
That's what came out. I'm telling you, there were virtually no edits. I woke up and like, I got it.
Yeah, spark. Yeah.
And that Garrison quote, man.
People might be thinking, oh, he's been arrested, he's a criminal, right? And like, this guy's can never be taken seriously because, you know, why should a criminal have any credibility? And like, what do you say to people before we get into your prison story? Like about those people right now are thinking, this guy's just a criminal. Like
everybody that people admire the most were lawbreakers. Gandhi went to jail way more times than I ever did. Dr. Martin Luther King got arrested. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison.
Well, das ist mal ein Argument.
For standing up for his beliefs. So these are people that are collectively admired. It's absurd to think that somebody, just because they broke the law, you have to look at the law. Was it an unjust law? What were they breaking the law for? On behalf of black people in South Africa and apartheid, on behalf of black people in America that were being segregated and oppressed, on behalf of Indians that were being oppressed, on behalf of mink, on behalf of animals who were being oppressed. So it's kind of weird, but
der Typ ist einfach zu schlau, Mann.
I got the last laugh because nobody ever gave a shit what I had to say before I got arrested. And all of a sudden, I get arrested and go to jail, and everybody wants to talk to me. The media's calling, the professors. I didn't find my way into the classroom. The professors brought me into the classroom. And then I realized, oh my God, education is where it's at. So I don't take back the breaking of the laws. I don't even take back Alan and Robin and Pat cooperating to make sure that I went to jail. It had to be that way. It was written. At first, I was so angry with them, as anybody would be. How could you? And then as I look back over the years, I'm like, thank goodness Robin and Alan turned me in, because nobody wanted to hear me beforehand, and now everybody did.
Ja, das Leben ist vielleicht hat man keinen freien Willen, ne? Deswegen passiert das und man denkt, okay, die haben dich alle verraten, jetzt landest du im Knast und am Ende kommt raus, wärst du nicht im Knast gelandet, hätte dich niemand gekannt.
In fact, some teachers from Canton High School called me and said, Mr. Yourofsky, you want to come to our political action day, talk to 800 students about why you went to jail? Then a professor from Oakland University called me, same thing. And then when the crowd responded so positively with a standing ovation, I said, oh, education. They don't know. You didn't know? Go teach them. So that's how the education stuff was born. So the prison,
Prison ain't no joke though. Like, especially like, you know, so no matter where you are, Canada, Australia, I've done time in Australia, America, you know, UK. Prisons have the worst of the worst people all in one spot, and you tend to go to like a max first and then get lowered down. So tell us about, you go from the dock in the courtroom, they put the cuffs on you. Tell us about the process for you and like what you were thinking, like, and then that moment in the cell.
Yeah, they.
Ja, die sollten endlich weitermachen zum nächsten Thema und es wiederholt sich langsam.
You know, they walked me in. I'm still.
Ich habe genug von Straftaten jetzt gehört.
Still in militant mode. They put me in the EMDC, Elgin Middlesex Detention Center, Max Detention Center. By the way, these places are worse than a penitentiary. So this is a holding place for people before they go to the penitentiary, or if you get a 2-year sentence or less. So there was a mixture. There were some people with petty crimes.
Da eher gesagt das Gefängnisthema.
And there were some people with some major crimes that were waiting to be transferred. My cellmate Paul ends up telling me, he goes, I've been in and out of jail for 18 years, Gary. I can't believe they put you here. This is the worst place I've ever done time in. And the Max Detention Center was a lockdown facility. You only came out to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You stayed out after that for about an hour, maybe. Then you went back in lockdown, and they only took you outside for about 20 to 30 minutes if they felt like it. Understand, the penitentiary, they let you out of your cage in the morning. There's a yard, you can stay outside all day. There's a workout facility. There's a library. Might even be a movie room depending on where you're at. There's a commissary. You can go buy treats and stuff. Not where I was at. So
That's a hard 77 days.
it was a tough 77 days. In fact, and now I always knew somebody was looking out for me, and I always got along with nearly everybody. There's only one group of people on this planet I really don't jibe with, and it's hillbillies, as my friend Lana pointed out once. So they put me in that first day. I'm all over the news. Lead story. Man from Michigan sentenced to jail for liberating mink. So the alpha male in the area that I was put in, he wasn't pleased. He turns to me and says, where the hell you get off coming to our country and doing all this shit? And I'm trying to explain, hey man, I was giving these animals a chance to be free. Mink have their necks broken. It's violence. And I'm trying to stop the violence. And he says to me, now, guys hate to be intimidated. I was always really good with police and other people that were trying to bully me because I bullied them first and intimidated them first. I'm a great intimidator. I must admit, this guy got me. I was got for the first time. He says to me, you're in the wrong fucking cell because we're all fucking violent. Now you got to understand my crazy brain. All this happened in 2 seconds. I'm like, oh my God, that's such a good line. I wish I came up with that. Holy shit, I'm about to get my ass kicked because now him and his 9 boys behind him, 10 people start walking towards me and I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to get my ass kicked. I put up my fist and I'm ready for this. I'm ready to get my ass kicked. And at that moment, the warden walks down the hallway. Says, hey, Yourofsky, come over here. Calls me to the corner of the cell. He wanted to tell me the rules of the penitentiary, of the prison, of the detention center. He said, hey, Gary, every Tuesday there's a commissary. You make sure you put your order in by Monday night. You can't have more than $50 in your commissary account. Make sure you make your bed every morning, blah, 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 all this stuff. I'm like, okay, he's listening, yeah. I finally say, can I speak to you in private? I said, why? What's going on? I said, well, I just need to speak to you in private, please. Kind of looks me up and down to make sure I'm not messing with him. He says, calls the guard, hey, open up the cell. So he takes me down the hallway. He said, what's going on? I said, well, I can't really tell you what's going on exactly, but if you don't switch me to a different unit, there's going to be some problems. And I'd appreciate it if you just move me somewhere else. Again, he looks me up and down. I said, just trust me. Just put me in a different unit. And he said, okay. And guard, go get Yourofsky's stuff and take him down or whatever. So they moved me. I never had a problem again.
Glück gehabt.
Those 10 guys were crazy, although they did kind of glance at me at times as they walked their unit past our unit to go outside. So that was an interesting moment. God, so many crazy things happen in jail. It's not a nice place to be. My brain actually shut down in order to cope with it. I remember getting letters from people all over the world. I still have them in a box. So nice. There's not much to do in jail, but obviously waste time. Watch time, you know, pass. And I was reading the letters, but I couldn't respond to any of them. I didn't know how to. My brain was shut down. So when I knew I was getting kicked out on day 60, they said, actually, we're gonna deport you from Canada. You're being thrown out of the country, persona non grata. In the next couple weeks, we're gonna come get you. My brain turned back on, and I spent the next 17 days writing everyone a personal letter right back. And it was perfect because it took up my whole day. Everyone got a personalized letter. But man, prison is, God, it let me live the life of the animal though. Like whenever I felt it was too much and this is crazy, I kept thinking, I can't believe this is how they live. I know I'm getting out. I'll be okay soon. They never get out of this. Man, it just intensified my empathy. And it just made me want to do more things. In fact, when I got out of prison, 10 days later, I did one of my last acts where I chained my neck at the Detroit Animal Control Center because they were gassing dogs in the alleyway. They were putting them in a big container, a garbage bin, and with a hose hooked up to a muffler. So
you got out of jail and you did another action.
10 days later, and as they walked me past the media, I actually said, "Nice try, Canada. Didn't work." Again, you didn't know Radical Gary in the 90s. I didn't care. They couldn't stop me or control me.
Did you just want to make it known they couldn't stop you?
Well, listen, so I would still go to jail. I would still give my life for the animals, but I'll be honest, I really don't want to nowadays. I'm kind of comfortable in my little crazy life right now. I do it, but back then I go ahead, take me. I don't care. In fact, cops would threaten to arrest me a lot at protests, and I'd stand up and I put my hands and I'd bump them. I'm like, go ahead, arrest me. I give a fuck. Go ahead, arrest me. Yeah. Go ahead. As soon as I get out, I'm going to come right back. Then what? And then cops would back off. They go, man, you're crazy. I go, why am I crazy? Because I'm not afraid of you. Not afraid to go to jail. Go ahead, fucking take me to jail. I give a fuck. Do it. And they'd go, and they'd leave. When the cops would leave, I'd be like, this guy's, again, so the whole edge they have is you're supposed to be afraid. Yeah. Well, what happens when you're not afraid? They don't know. They literally didn't know what to do anymore. They were threatening me. I said, go ahead, do it. I don't care. So, man, it's funny jail story real quick. Gordy is back in jail. It's the rumbling of the day. Gordy's back. I go, who's Gordy? And my cellmate Paul says, oh, you'll see Gordy, man. Wait till you see Gordy. I go, well, how do you know? He goes, I'm actually friends with Gordy. I'm one of the few people, but you'll see him. Gordy was in this time he just got an 18-and-a-half-year sentence for stabbing somebody. So they're taking us out to the yard one day, and from behind, as I'm opening up a little pack of vegan candy, I think it was Lifesavers, and I get tapped on the shoulder, boom, boom, real hard. And this is prison, right? You got to stand. I turn around like I'm a tough guy, and 400-pound mountain man is standing there. I'm showing my age, but King Kong Bundy was a wrestler back in the day when I was a kid growing up in the 80s, and he looked like King Kong Bundy. Look it up online. And I was like, oh my God, and I back up, and he has his hand out, and I'm backing up. I go, did you want a piece of candy? He says, and I think the orange one's the best, so I was like, did you want the orange one? And I put the orange one in his hand, and as I look over to Paul, he's mouthing to me, that's Gordy. Like, God, okay, I can assume that's Gordy. So now I tell Paul, introduce me to him. So they take me to the yard, and Paul says, let me talk to him first. A couple minutes later, he calls me over. So Gordy looks up at me and says, what's your name? What the hell did you do? I said, my name's Gary. I freed some mink from a mink farm. They're going to have their necks broken. I was just trying to give them a chance to be free. He looks at me and goes, I think that's pretty cool, man. My name's Gordy, by the way. You know, there was a kid growing up that used to shoot wolves. I used to kick his ass all the time. I really like wolves. And in my head, I'm going, look at Gordy. He's got a soft spot for the animals, right? He ended up taking all the literature that I had. He listened to me talk about animal rights. And one day, now Gordy was so big and bad that even the guards didn't know how to handle him. If he wanted to leave the yard early or do whatever, like you let Gordy do what he wanted to do to a certain degree. So we're having lunch one day, And you know what mystery meat is in high school, that nobody knows what it is. Well, you should see what mystery meat is in prison. So Gordy calls the guard over. He goes, I want to see the warden and I want to see him now. I don't know what the hell this is. And the warden comes right down in a couple of minutes. And Gordy picks up the piece of meat and he hands it to the warden. He goes, what the hell is that? And the warden goes, I don't know. And Gordy says, everybody knows what Gary has. He's got a bowl of vegetables and tofu every day. Everybody sees his clean food. What the hell are we getting? And the warden said, well, Gary's a vegan. He gets special food. Well, then we want to be vegan too. We want vegan food. And they all start pounding their hands. We want vegan food. And I'm in the background going, if I only had a camera, they're demanding vegan food in prison. And the warden goes, you can't change your diet once you're in here. He already told us before. We want vegan.
Nur ich konnte mir vorstellen, dass sie das sagen, weil die einfach was anderes essen wollen.
Food, and they had this battle about trying to get vegan
Im Gefängnis hast du sogar Bock auf Tofu wahrscheinlich, ja.
food. So
Also als Omni.
That's crazy.
it was,
That is...
it was funny as shit. Always a funny.
The disgust angle really got to them, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, what is this shit? Like...
And I would use the disgust angle a lot.
Yeah, in your speeches, yeah.
And talk about things coming out of a hen's ass.
It's part of her menstruation cycle. It's a hen's period. People scramble up hen periods in the morning, and all of a sudden I'm weird.
Exactly.
Put things in a turkey's ass.
People take a dead turkey, open up the dead turkey's ass, or carve out a really big hole in their ass, take some stuffing and shove it inside their dead empty ass, and use their little dead ass as an oven to bake some bread. Somebody else's dead, empty, bacteria-laden ass to make bread? Ass bread? And people think vegans are weird?
Squeezing cow nipples.
Ja. Wenn man das jedem Menschen mal vorführen würde, was wirklich weird ist und wer wirklich extrem ist, dann aber natürlich wird alles verdreht. Die Veganer sind extrem.
The things that ooze out,
Yeah.
I would do the bestiality section.
Yeah.
People don't even realize the disgusting things that they're eating.
So help
Ja, zeig mal, was man mit den Bullen macht. Den Menschen.
helps the animals. Let's
Yeah.
go throw it at them, right?
I'll use anything.
I wanted to read something that you, it's a couple of excerpts from your website from when you were in prison. You said, during my 77-day incarceration, I felt lifeless, moribund and enervated. I think it means lacking energy, maybe. Not from any sort of punishment or correction the system thought it doled out, but from the lack of public compassion and activism for animals. If one cannot feel, see, nor understand the preciousness of this earth and all its inhabitants, then why should he or she be blessed with the gift of existence? What a pathetic life I must have led before I heard the cries of the enslaved and tumult of the animal kingdom. Activism engulfs me. My life is this struggle. From liberator to educator, I continue to fight for interspecies justice. Do you remember those lines?
I do. Yeah, it was the hardest part was not being able to be active. Although I did as much preaching as I could in jail, it's kind of limited. It was wonderful to get back out, especially because, I mean, those were the crazy radical years up to prison. But remember now it's about end of the 90s, 2000s hitting. Now I'm starting to see the education angle, and then I got to do the real powerful shit.
Impact
that I
came,
did.
didn't it?
All of a sudden, I got 2,500 plus speeches facing,
So you come out.
ahead of me.
You get out, you get arrested again, but then you have this transition, like you have this realization that maybe prison ain't where I'm most effective, and then you decide. Tell us about this realization from this transition from direct action, civil disobedience to education.
I was still looking for what is the action that's going to make people listen and get it. It's not direct action anymore. It's not civil disobedience. It's not the media. To me, the media is entertainment, in one ear and out the other. Even if it's a serious story and I'm telling you about cows having their babies stolen on dairy farms, once they get to the next story, this is who won the Monday Night Football game. This is who got divorced today. This is where the stock market's at. Oh, and here's the weather. It's just an entertainment for 30 minutes of nonsense. So lobbying wasn't working. You passed laws, and way too soon. We shouldn't be passing laws until people understand why those laws need to be passed. We're jumping the gun with that. So I'm running the gamut, and then I get invited to Canton High School to talk about why I went to jail. I go in there extemporaneous. I got nothing prepared. Because to be honest, all I expected to hear at the end anyway was, fuck you, get a life. That's all I heard on the street. Fuck you, get a life. So I talked for 30 minutes on veganism, 30 minutes on vivisection. And as I finished, there was 800 students in the auditorium, kind of put my head down as I'm preparing for the fuck you get a life. And there's a standing ovation. I look up, what the fuck? I'm not saying this to brag. I don't understand. About 45 or 50 students kept me after school for 4.5 hours in the hallway asking me more questions. I had to end it. I remember looking down at my watch and going, it is 8:30, guys. I got a dog at home. I got to get home and let him out. I'd stay all night. Thank you for listening. Oh, we want more. Several weeks later, I still have this letter somewhere. I get a letter from the school, from the teachers who organized it. It said, Mr. Yourofsky, we did a survey of the 800 students that heard you speak. 100 have decided to embrace veganism. That's a hell of a ratio. 100 out of 800 in 60 minutes? It's starting to make sense. Not fully yet until the next professor at Oakland University invites me in. Same thing, extemporaneous, standing ovation. Several people coming up to me, at least half the class. You changed my life. I had no idea. I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, you got to talk to people. You got to educate people. So I decided to send out mass emails. And by the way, don't let people tell you that you can't do something. In life in general, anything that's ever been done that was great was always a wild, crazy idea. Everyone took, Gary, they're never going to let you in the school system. You're going to try to get in there and talk about veganism, and you've been arrested 13 times? My letter to the school, so I would pick an area, and I would pick 5 or 6 colleges. I'd go to the website, grab every email from every professor, and send them basically 1 or 2 paragraphs, and it was something to the effect, it was simple. Can I come to your class and give a lecture on veganism? I've been arrested 13 times. I even support violence in certain situations, and the lecture is free. What do you think? I assumed 1 out of 100 would say yes. It's a little better. 2 or 3 out of 100 were saying yes. But even better than that, once they invited me in, they told all their colleagues, you have never heard somebody speak like this. You got to get this guy in your classes too. So all of a sudden, it went from 1 or 2 professors at a school to I had 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 professors at University of Central Florida bringing me in every semester. University of Akron, same thing. I had places that I was going to nonstop. So the first semester in 2002, only had 37 talks. Jumped to 76 the second semester, and the following year, from there on out, it was a minimum of 100 every semester. One year I did 263 talks, so I was averaging 200 to 263 lectures every year. And there were some times I had to turn down talks. They overlapped, and I hated that, but I was so focused and driven that it didn't matter where I had to drive, as long as it was feasible to get there. So for instance, I would do talks in New York City. I'd finish my last talk of the day at say 6 o'clock. I would do a 5:30 to 8 o'clock class, jump in the car, drive 7 hours to Akron because I had a 7:30 talk the next morning. It's crazy, but I could get there. Now, I had a 3 head bob rule, so I'm driving at night. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I would pull over on the side of the road, sleep for 15 minutes. Okay, as long as I can get there, I would get there, because how could I pass up the chance of speaking to 25, 50, 100, 200 students? And mind you, I was rarely doing 1 lecture per day. It was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lectures one day. I did 7. One time at a high school, I did 8 lectures in one day. Every class, they brought me around. This is draining. This is, sometimes mental work, in fact, I don't say sometimes, all the time, to me, mental work is way harder than manual labor. And my brain was so drained, and there'd be times I'd show up for a class, or by the 5th lecture, you'd see me before the class, and like, there's no way this guy can speak, and I'd just be in the corner like, I'm so tired. And then they'd introduce me and be like, okay, everybody, so what I want to talk about today, and this energy would just come, and you couldn't tell that I was dead tired until the last word came out, Q&A was over. And be like, I'm going to go lay down in the hallway just 5 minutes. And I lay down on my briefcase and just go to sleep. I'm like, okay, I'm ready. And I couldn't be stopped. I couldn't stop. And I was in an era too. So I grew up without the internet, grew up without cell phones. I grew up without documenting everything that I was doing. Unlike today, where you take a picture of breakfast and lunch and dinner and share. Like, I never understood that. So out of the 2,660 lectures I gave, There's only probably about 10 or 15 on video, but it wasn't important to me because the classroom was the only thing that mattered to me. Those students were the only thing that mattered, and it was a lonely road. I didn't have people with me most of the time. Erica came with me at the end for several years. Kate was with me for a couple.
Ja, der hat das auch alles noch alleine gemacht, ey. Ganz alleine. Völlig isoliert.
Years, but at least half of
Was für ein Panzer, ey.
the 13 years I was on the road, I was by myself. And I could only tell the stories like, you won't believe I turned 100 people vegan today. It was crazy. The whole class cried and came up to me and shook my hands. It was the best moment of their lives. And I saw change. Joey, this is something that I want to encourage people to do. You can make change. I'm just a simple guy from Michigan with a big heart. I couldn't be quiet. But I would come in the classroom, and this is how people were. And I heard everything. I had supersonic hearing. They're like, no, the fucking vegan's here today. I didn't hear a fucking lecture on vegan. I should have brought a hamburger, man. I should have brought my dad's deer head. That would have been funny. I didn't get mad at anybody because I remember how I was. They don't know. Wait till I get them. So start like this every class. I mean, it sucks to be hated. I never wanted to be hated. When I grew up, everybody loved me. I was the life of the party. I was the shit. All of a sudden, Gary likes chickens and cows. Everybody fucking hates Gary. But so it would start like this. 10 minutes in, all of a sudden, I drop in that slaughterhouse video. About 15 minutes in, all of a sudden, kind of like this. It's kind of a submissive position. Some psychologists have told me, like, man, you really broke them down. And then, so I had a militant comedic style, Malcolm X and George Carlin mixed into one. So I'd push them to a limit where they couldn't take it anymore, and I'd see it. And I'd come out of that slaughterhouse video with, there are 5,000 concentration camp trucks on American highways right now.
Right now, at this very moment, on American highways, there are no less than 5,000 concentration camp trucks. Inside these trucks, there are living, terrified, innocent beings. Cows and pigs and chickens.
You're responsible for the right. I'm just being, and they would be in the back like, no, I can't. And I take them to the limit, and then the bestiality stuff. I make a joke, make some sarcastic. Now they start laughing. Now they're back with me. So it was a back and forth. It was a militant comedy roast. Is basically how I describe my speech, and it was just such a phenomenal thing to see this to this to this, and at the end, it was almost like, okay, all right, you're right. What do I eat tomorrow? Like, yes. And this, to see change happen, because we always want it, and most of us never get to see it, especially if you're on the streets. It's a tough place to make change, and it can happen in the right setting. So I took my street protest to the classroom. In fact, I lectured in the same classes, same professors so often. Many professors started using me as a substitute teacher when they had a conference. So they contact me before the semester and say, Gary, on February 18th, I got to go do this conference. Can you come and do my class? So for the people that think I'm too radical, I had professors Professor Klein, Georgia Tech, where the famous speech was located. I don't think I saw him for the last 4 or 5 years of my lecture tour. He used me as a substitute teacher for his conferences and wasn't vegan. That's, man, you give the best speech ever. Please take my class. And it was always a huge class. Those public policy classes of 150, 250 students.
Right.
So for anybody who thinks this style's not good, the professors 95% of the time brought me back. So I always asked people when they thought I was too radical, I said, if the professors bring me in, why do you think it's too radical? Because if they kicked me out, I would actually sit down and agree with you and go, you know what, maybe I need to change something. Maybe I shouldn't say this.
And for fun, maybe people should just go through your emails and comments that you received. I was going through it. Well, God, it's like January, February, March, and I was just scrolling.
You could probably read the Bible before you finish reading my comment section.
It was like a professor, student, you changed my life, and this was before I get a lot, but I've got.
So eine Sammlung habe ich auch, über 1000 Kommentare. Irgendwo ist der Facebook-Link davon, ne?
Hundreds of millions of views across social media, probably 500 million by now. I've been on, and we got documentaries.
Ja, das ist im Sources-Raum, ja, stimmt.
On Prime and that, but you were getting. That just shows like the amount of people in the classroom that were converting, but the effectiveness of those speeches.
I did it.
I never had a class where I didn't at least convert one. Even those horrible classes, and some were horrible, one person would always come up to me.
Also es haben mindestens 100 Personen zu mir gesagt, dass ich die vegan gemacht habe.
Said, I heard what you had to say. I don't know what they're listening to. I'm sorry you had to hear that, but I'm going vegan. I'm like, thank goodness, because it was like, please tell me somebody heard my message. But most of the time was 50% conversion rate. It was phenomenal.
It's not like I'm going vegan. It's like you changed my entire outlook on life.
But the professors always did surveys. They told me I always had a minimum of 15 to 20% conversion, but it was usually in the 50%.
That's on the spot. So change doesn't happen like that.
I know.
It happens gradually.
I know.
On the spot is
60 minutes. Yeah. This topic. Yeah. You met. I tell people this is the hardest social justice movement ever. I got to convince somebody in 60 minutes to be nice to a chicken. You want to talk about a hard fucking task?
Yep.
And I was doing it 50% of the time, most of the time, if not more. There were classes where
Pflanzen dann, ich schreibe, du hast mich davor bewahrt, Vegetarier zu werden. I did it.
Everybody went vegan. It's crazy.
It's good to get them in the classroom when they're...
Boah, Leute, wir sind bei der Hälfte. Das ist unfassbar. Wie lang ist dieser Talk? Ach du Scheiße.
We're a bit younger, but you know, this might be a little bit tougher with the older crowd, depending on...
Younger was... So, what... The younger is easier. Young kids...
Mir kommt es vor, als sitzen wir hier schon den ganzen Tag und hören das.
Kids are still attached.
Yeah.
So the problem that I discovered accidentally was, unless I have mommy and daddy there, this is...
Ich finde das voll komisch irgendwie. Ich habe immer das Gefühl, ich habe Konzentrationsprobleme. Ich habe Probleme, mich auf irgendwas zu fokussieren. Aber immer wenn ich streame, kann ich mich irgendwie extrem gut fokussieren. Da seit über 1,5 Stunden fokussiere ich mich auf das Gespräch und kann mich konzentrieren auf alles, was der sagt. Voll seltsam, ich kapiere das nicht.
Not gonna work. You know the toughest question I ever had? It wasn't from Penn State, University of Michigan, NYU. It wasn't the fucking big schools. 7th grader from Toledo, Aurora Academy says to me, Mr. Yourofsky, I believe everything you say today. I do. I want to become vegan. What happens today when I go home and my mom says I can't? And you know how I am, even by today. You ask a question, you got an answer. As soon as you're done, I might have 5 different answers. I went, oh, shit. Took me 30 seconds. I walked down to the crowd. I said, okay, here's my business card. That's my number. Have your mom or your dad call me if they have questions. Somebody give me a pen. It's Dr. Jerry Velasic. This is his phone number. If they have questions about health, Jerry wants to help. He's in my free. Trust me, free. And I said, if your mom or your dad won't let you do this, I can't hold you accountable. But you got to promise me as soon as you can do this on your own, you will. He said, I promise. I made him do it 3 times, so it was giggling. I'm like, promise, promise, promise. And I gave him a hug. I'm like, oh man. And then I realized I got to go to college. You don't need mommy and dad's permission, so I never did another high school or middle school after that. And it sucked because I lost. You lose, the older you are, the further away from animals you are.
Gets put into the
more lies are in there, yeah.
Exactly. You like created the perfect kind of situation, environment, where people are in a classroom, so they're there to learn. So they're already open, right? And then well, some aren't, but you know, but then they've got you for that amount of time, no matter what. And the way that you control the room, it's almost like they're being held accountable. There's no way out. And they also, it's a one track. You get your question later. You listen to this, and then you show them the footage. It's almost like it was like this perfect.
Warte mal, aber das heißt ja, du bist dann vegan geworden wegen mir, oder nicht?
Perfect recipe, you know. So I think the effectiveness of those has.
Vielen Dank für den Bit, Pakluma.
It has actually been tested, and then people are like, well, maybe we can make some tweaks and make it better. But how do you know that?
Ist das so ein Abzeichen, super. Ja, das ist mein Trick.
You could make it better. Maybe if you do tweaks, it might make it worse.
I set it up that way for a reason.
Yeah.
I didn't want to hear you. See, the problem on the street is they get to talk. I say, you need to shut up. I know what you're fucking thinking, and I know what you're about to say.
You could see like a thought bubble above their head while you're talking of every single excuse they're about to come out with. So don't even bother.
And then I hear it on the streets.
Hey Eugen, zeig mir mal dein Bunsenbrenner. Ja, danach kann ich ihn dir zeigen, ja. Vielen Dank für die 99 Beats. Vielen, vielen Dank.
I made everybody shut up for 60 minutes. I'm tired of it.
Ja, stimmt, jetzt hast du noch einen. Ha.
What about protein? What about God? What about the animals?
all in the speech.
It's like, fuck, man.
Auch die soften Pick-Me-Veganer argumentieren ähnlich wie Vegetarier. Ja. Jo, Zuckerinsel, vielen Dank für deinen Sub an Psyclox. Naja, einer unterstellt, wieso du aggressiv Sub geschenkt von mir. What? Eine Bekannte und deine Videos. Das ist gut, das ist gut.
Yeah, okay.
I like how you actually preemptively ask questions like Socratically throughout the speech, and questions like,
And if you think there's such a thing as humane slaughter, I'm curious, do you also think there's such a thing as humane rape? Humane child molestation? Humane slavery? How about a humane Holocaust? In fact, what is your definition of a Holocaust?
what is your idea of it? And like those questions are like probably.
Weil ich weiß, was meine Definition davon ist, von dem Wort, und da fallen Tiere drunter.
Wait a second, he just said Holocaust. This isn't like it's always. It's
I
very.
want you to know, so when I decided to come back, so the truth is, I forgot most of the shit that I did. I know it seems weird. I know people seem to think I'm some narcissist that sits around and watches my shit. I don't. So
Übrigens, wenn jemand sagt, dass dieser Begriff nicht für Tiere gilt, kannst du NTT an ihm laufen lassen und ihn an die Wand klatschen. Nur so als Tipp.
when I knew I was coming back, I went online to look at it. And I caught you doing an overview of my speech, breaking it down. And I got to say, man,
That was 2021. I did that.
I had a tear in my eye. I'm like, oh my God. Oh, Joey broke that shit down. Wow. Okay. People were listening and seeing what I was doing. There were times I didn't think anybody was listening besides the students in the classroom. And that was my main focus. It was nice to hear you break it down so eloquently. And then I watched some of the speech myself as you're watching. I'm going, ah. Wait, I forgot it. Oh my God, that's tight. Okay, I see why people are listening. But I'm not saying it arrogantly. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot. And then I would yell out to Erica. I'm like, Erica, do you remember I said this? She goes, yeah, Gary, everybody remembers but you. Because I locked myself away in this.
You're in the zone. And also, like, you probably, like, if it ain't perfect in your eyes, you probably think I could do better next time. I've done that better. Or you always
The truth is, I wish if I would go back, I would take out the health and the environment and do all ethics.
Yeah, why?
Every semester when it began, I wanted to take it out, health, environment, and do all ethics. And then the professors would always tell me, but Gary, we've done surveys, and the health is everyone's favorite part. It gets them interested, and then they like ethics next. I'm like, oh, damn. Okay, I'll leave it in. So, but every semester I had this battle. I don't want to do health anymore. I just want to add more ethics. But again, the shit worked. I really...
I don't know,
really
man.
can't
Like,
complain.
you know, this is the thing. You want to take it out, but that's you want to take it out.
I know.
How do you know that if you took that out?
I know.
Because it's almost like it's like playing with fire then. Well, you could do a test. You could run a test
You're right.
like for a year.
Well, here,
but-
so there were times I did have to take it out. So not every class I did was 60, 70, 90 minutes where I can do the full speech. So the Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes were 50-minute classes. By the time they got in, sat down, the teacher said something, it's down to 45. So basically, I did take out health and environment a lot, and it still worked.
Yeah.
So I was able to test it along the way. But they all said the full speech is really what people like the most.
We took health and environment out of our documentary.
You did.
Yeah, we did master interviews. We flew around to do the master interviews. We got, I was like, well, it's coming out because we have to make decisions here. And there was one sentence, two sentences, actually, it was one sentence that one person said, it's better for your health and it's good for the environment in the whole thing. And I was like, that's all they need. It's been
by the way-
overstated now. Like, they don't need to know anymore. Like,
I would do something like
Yeah.
that for the short classes.
Right,
By the
yeah.
way, where do you think all the diseases are coming from? How come this is not a vegan world and everybody's sick? Think about that. Or how come there's a drugstore on every corner? You guys tell me you get everything you need and everybody needs vitamins and everybody's sick. So
the ethical message is the one that keeps you vegan, man. Gets you, inspires a
there's
movement
no doubt.
of activists.
There's
but
no doubt.
Your speech that people see, the Georgia Tech speech, I mean, it's one of the most famous, but like, I'd just like to say that that's like, you didn't just pop out and just write a speech. Like, that is...
Die verharren zu lange bei den einzelnen Themen. Die könnten echt mal das nächste Thema jetzt machen.
Years of grinding and someone decides to whip out a camera and film it, right?
I get an email from Nathan Black a couple days before, said, Gary, man, I heard your speech last year at Georgia Tech. It changed my life. Can I come by and film you when you're going back in Professor Klein's class? I'd like to put it online. Again, I'm like, I don't give a shit. Yeah, show up. I don't care. So he shows up. He wants to mic me up, by the way. I said, no. I'm not doing mics. Don't even set up any fucking lights. I'm like Pavarotti or Rob Halford from Judas Priest. When I start speaking, you don't need a microphone. And that was a big hall. I was a class of always 150 to 250 students. No microphone. I said, just stay out of my way. Record it over there. He records it. Thank God that Nathan Black recorded it because of what it ended up doing. He caught a moment too. It was one of those moments. Maybe my best speech ever, next to the Mink Liberation speech. Yeah.
And like, people don't see how long it took to get that.
So that was 8 years of, so I'd started lecturing full time in 2002. We're now fast forward to 2010. I'm in my prime.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm in it. So I now know how to give this perfect speech. It's coming out perfect.
Yep.
I'm not afraid, not that I ever was, to say exactly what needs to be said. And yeah, it was a moment in time. There were a couple of freestyles in there though. On the way to the lecture that morning, there was another radio story, a story on the radio about E. coli recall, spinach. So that section about spinach doesn't shit, broccoli doesn't shit. That pissed me off that morning. I said, say something today about explaining where E. coli comes from. I'm tired of spinach getting the blame and alfalfa sprouts.
Let's keep in mind the one and only source of E. coli and salmonella.
Tiere.
Shit. Human shit or animal shit. Spinach doesn't shit. Broccoli doesn't shit. Peanuts don't shit.
Right, it's the dairy farm in the area, it's the beet farm in the area. So that was a freestyle, actually what I said after the slaughterhouse video, the concentration camp trucks. So at that time too, I would force myself to actually freestyle after the slaughterhouse video. So keep in mind too, I had to watch that fucking video 2,660 times. I didn't walk out of the room. It wouldn't be fair for me to make everyone else watch it. So I had to sit there and watch it too, which added to my PTSD and my stress over the years. But that video would pump me up so much to continue. It would anger me and just like, okay, I'm just gonna fucking let them have it now.
These trucks are being driven to concentration camp slaughterhouses that we've carefully constructed all across America. When the trucks arrive, the animals are so frightened, they won't even get off the truck. They're not stupid. They know what's next.
When the slaughterhouse clip is shown, there's a moment of silence from you, and you know it's intense. The room is quiet. And you think
that was intentional.
Yeah, I know. And it's like
there's power in silence and pause. You'll notice I don't and ah when I speak.
Yeah.
Intentionally, and I says just pace, make him wait. What's he gonna? Oh my God, what's he gonna?
It's like that. Well, it's almost like the students there are responsible for what's on the screen, and you're not gonna ease up at that point. You're not like, look, I understand. Look, I know. You're really going in like you've done this. It's like a stern kind of like father talking to at this moment that they really need when they're in that moment of like openness and like shock and sadness and like emotion, and you really capitalize on that emotion in that moment, and you refuse to do a speech without showing your slaughter clip.
It just doesn't work. Who could believe that living beings are being cut up while they're fully conscious? They're not out of it. They're not stunned. They're not put under before. Not that it would be okay, but I have to show you. We start cutting their heads off while they're screaming and writhing, cutting off legs and limbs, arms and tails. You don't believe me, no matter how graphic I could describe it, and I could be graphic, it doesn't work. So yeah, there were times professors or teachers would say, you can't show that video. I said, well, I unfortunately cannot do the lecture. But wait, but Gary, you're so graphic. No, No, who would? Could you believe a slave ship unless you saw it? I don't. Can you believe Auschwitz? I can't envision it because you'd have to see people being walked into a gas chamber. Are you kidding me? Your mind protects yourself from these horrible images. So it's almost impossible for you to really grasp what goes on in a house of slaughter unless you see it. And then once you see it, it's still hard to grasp. You're almost like sometimes.
Ja, man muss in diese Schlachthäuser, also jeder sollte sich das angucken mit einer VR-Brille. So ein extra dafür gemachtes Schlachthaus-Rundgang.
People would laugh, but it wasn't a mean laugh. You didn't know
Also alle Nicht-Veganer.
how to react. Because at first I get up, I'm like, oh, you know what? You don't, something you're like, it's.
Ich gucke mir dafür gerne durch eine VR-Brille an, wie ein Traktor übers Feld fährt.
Nervous, oh my God, what the fuck's going on laughs.
Especially men do, they tend to laugh, yeah.
But it was like, there were a couple,
funny.
serial killer laughs that happened to me over the years, which are other stories too. But most of the time I learned to realize you don't know how to react. Your mind is just melting right before you and the foundations are crumbling, and sometimes a laugh is kind of your body's friendly way to comfort yourself.
Yeah.
But they had to see the slaughterhouse video.
Because they're not only like not going to believe you, but their battle, it's not just the lack of seeing that, it's also the tsunami of humane nonsense labeling that they are being constantly programmed with since they're a kid. So that's what you're battling too. So
they think, and I think I said in the speech, you thought there were cartoon caricatures of animals being killed. It was this happy place, because that's what you see on TV. It's all happy cows come from California.
Die lila Kuh, ja.
Some cartoon caricature. I mean, I've seen some ads around the world where there was a pig once. I was in France, and he was actually cutting himself in half.
Smiling still, probably, you know.
But the outrageous propaganda from those who abuse animals, and this is why we've all been brainwashed and programmed. We were all brainwashed and programmed, and somebody unbrainwashed and deprogrammed us, and that was my goal. That was my goal, is I was going to take you out of this stupor. You guys, I'm waking you up. In fact, isn't it kind of like
Ich bin da rausgekommen, Glückseligkeit.
The cave story, the cave allegory from Plato, where people are living in a cave, chained up and looking at a wall, and it's a projector behind them showing them what the world is, and somebody comes and says, no, just turn around, there's a real world out there, and they're getting mad. No, this is the real world. And that's how people are when it comes to the meat, dairy, and egg industries. No, come on, animals are treated nicely. They want to be killed. They want us to take their eggs. They want us to steal their babies. I mean, the amount of propaganda, and it just doesn't come from the meat, dairy, and egg industries, right? It comes from our parents, who were lied to by their parents, religion, government, TV. I mean, everywhere we look, it says meat, dairy, and cheese, and eggs. This is normal. This is normal. The vegans are the abnormal ones. In reverse, people, we are the normal ones, extending compassion and decency. And if you're consuming flesh and blood and veins and muscles and tendons and things that come out of a hen's ass, you are living in an outrageous world.
Yeah, a lie that they don't know that they're involved with. And like when I'm now being an investigator myself, it's always worse than to this day, I'll go in somewhere free range, this, that, the other. It's always worse than I expect it to be. And I don't have very high expectations of these animal abuse industries, obviously after 10 years doing this. Like, it's always something so fucked up that it even still shocks me to my core, and I leave there half traumatized from what I've seen after visiting dozens of places, you know. So
I used to speak in rural America a lot. This is where they needed it the most, where people were afraid to go preach. I talked at Halifax Community College a lot in North Carolina. There were students there that had worked or were working in Smithfield slaughterhouses. They would come up to me after the class. They're actually very nice. I had a really great experience at Halifax Community College all the time. They said, just so you know, it's way worse than what you showed. I said, excuse me? He goes, we don't cut the teeth of the pigs off. We take a hammer and we just fucking knock it out. I said, really? Because I was not aware of that. He goes, no, we knock it out with a hammer. And I mean, the things they would tell me, worse than what I had been told or what I had seen, which backs up what you just said.
Of course. People who worked in the industry know that we're not talking shit. And that's interesting, isn't it? And it's that when you think of like an investigator going in and taking a slight, like we go in for 2 weeks, leave cameras, right? And we come up with this horrible, horrible stuff. We go in for a moment in time, in one place, in the world, at one moment in time throughout the year of how many decades have this place been operating. And we come back with the most horrible stuff. So imagine what they're seeing every day. And when people try to tell me, oh no, this farmer's not that, don't give me that shit. He's evil. He sees a lot. He knows exactly what's going on in this place. He knows better than everyone. And he's lying to everyone, to himself, to his family. And he's seeing a lot worse than we've uncovered here. So they're all, if they're working in that place, not necessarily people who are trying to get a job, but the ones who are at the top, who own the facility, they are the bad ones. And they've got some kind of psychopathy to be able to hold that in and still lie to everyone about how humane it is, right?
The power of money, man.
Yeah.
What people do for the biggest business ever in existence, animal slavery, since the beginning of time.
Yep.
People think, oh, it's gasoline, it's oil, it's computers nowadays. No, it's not. It doesn't even come close to the animal slavery industry.
I actually have a part in my I used to do an activist workshop. I went on to go inspire activists to be active, to magnify the reach for turning people vegan, and that I used that the success of that speech as kind of like a blueprint for people. I was like, you know, Gary didn't film anything. And then one person incidentally filmed his speech and it got, well, I think it's on 5 million views right now. But not only that, is the other day I seen one, I think it had 50 million views on X, shared by some meat eating page who doesn't even know who you are. And he's like, I'm a meat eater. And this is years later, we're in 2025. And I'm like, how's that got 50 million views? Gary doesn't even know. Like, and people are in the comment section like, it's a small clip, 30 seconds. And people are like, wow, yeah, he's right, you know? And it's just like the amount of views little clips have got. I mean,
and it's been translated into different languages.
Exactly.
If you add up everything, I don't know how many millions and millions of hits it has, but I know there are hundreds of thousands of Gary vegans around this planet.
Yep.
And some people say millions, if you take into account the people I've converted, who they've converted, we could definitely get into the billions.
I was on a TV show, Veganville, on BBC in the UK. The bodybuilder that was in the class, he was from America. You came into his classroom and turned him vegan. Corinne. You were in his classroom. Yeah. It's like you did back in your day. You had to do so much more work to reach 50,000 people individually. Yeah. Like, it's crazy. Like that you were training for this moment, for this speech. If you filmed the first speech, like I filmed my first speech, man, it's pretty whack. It's all right. You know, like, so, but I was thinking.
I have it somewhere, but
yeah,
I do have
your first speech?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's on VHS.
Yeah, right. No, I've seen some of your earlier stuff. Some of your earlier stuff is
I have some stuff from the 90s that I used to do local cable shows. They're not even VHS. They're twice as big as VHS tapes. I don't know what they are, but they're in a box in my basement.
You get them converted, man.
You guys would be shocked to see me in '96. So there was a show that Neil Monroe used to run. He was the editor-in-chief of the Oakland Press, which was our third largest newspaper. He had me on 3 times. What's hysterical is the only other person that was on 3 times was former Governor John Engler. Me and the governor. But that's how I was still trying to get out there, and yeah, Neil was always open-minded to me and always listened. But it's fun, like when I see the old clip every once in a while, I'm like, wow, I really came a long way.
It's crazy. It's almost like a bit
of the growth.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it wouldn't have been the same speech if you, like, my whole journey is online. I started filming my stuff straight away, and it happened because I had a conversation with someone. I was like, I just wasted that on that arsehole. And I was spitting flames, inspiring, and I was like, yeah, you know, and then I was like, fuck this. From every single moment in time, I'm like, I whip out the phone. I don't give a fuck. I started filming like that with my phone flipped out like that, and I posted on my YouTube channel. And then that's how we started filming outreach. And now you see people filming outreach, magnifying their outreach. So they've got this little audience watching this moment in time. It might not be the same kind of effect because the classroom setting is like guaranteed to make.
Well, again, you're getting all the information in the classroom. I think I close most of my speeches with, so what's your excuse now?
Yep.
You might have had a pretty good excuse before I got here of being uninformed and misinformed. Okay. That's fair. Honestly, well, I was the same way for a long time. I'm kind of curious, though. What's the excuse now?
Seriously. Because to me, at that point, if you could watch my
Das ist so genial, ey.
speech or Earthlings and not change, you're just a dick. At that point, you're just a dick. Like, no, there can't
You are the fucking devil.
be anything else. We've covered it all. And when it comes to Earthlings, I can't even get through that shit. Anybody
Ja, Earthlings konnte ich auch nicht durchhalten. Bin ich dran zerbrochen.
that can watch that all the way through and not change their life, something's wrong with this person.
100%.
Deutsche Übersetzung ist auch so gut.
Yeah, something
Der Sprecher killt mich übelst.
I fight with every day in my head, like how
Es geht zu deep.
And these creatures have never harmed you, violated you, or taken advantage of you in any way, shape, or form. The least you can do is return the favor.
So your retirement, 2017, you left a massive legacy behind. But you know, I never really I never emailed you. I didn't want to bother you with anything, and I thought you were incredibly intelligent dude, very wise. You know yourself and your limits, and I never, I actually didn't ever want to reach out to you to remind you of the movement that you just retired from. So I didn't want to bother you. I wouldn't say, hey man, like going through this shit, but I knew that you were.
Scheiße, sag bloß, wir fangen jetzt mit dem Politikteil an. Warum der aufgehört hat. Wegen den Verleumdern. Wegen Verleumderbubble. Ach, scheiße. Wir sind genau jetzt fertig. Ich schreibe mir das auf jeden Fall mal auf. Weil wenn das Thema nicht kommt, dann... Wir haben ja genug gesehen, würde ich sagen.